to prep. We ready.
Oh, today's lats.
Lats on lats on lats.
Can't see all my lats from this far away.
Are your lats off from all the squats you did on your road trip?
Yeah, probably.
Sitting in the car.
We did an obscene amount of leg work.
Yeah.
So out of the 6 CrossFit gyms, 7 total.
In how many days?
2 days. Two
Jesus.
days, 1 night. But it's weird. It just like luck of the draw programming.
Yeah.
We didn't hit any...
No pressing at all.
No burpees, no thrusters, no double unders, no running, no box jumps. Like no like CrossFit-y type movements.
Yeah.
First day, I mean, we got a little bit of it, but really we squatted heavy, deadlifted heavy, or did weighted lunges like every day. And the second day was worse because the previous night we did front squats at 90%.
Yeah.
And so that was heavy. And
I
then
saw that, yeah.
the next morning at CrossFit HQ we did heavy box squats.
Oh, yeah.
3, 3, 3, 3, 3, heavy as possible. And then at noon class the same day we did 50-pound weighted lunges, like within the workout, and then weighted box step-ups.
Sitting in the car.
Yeah, and then we did the next morning 5 rep max back squat, and then at the noon class that was 9 a.m. and then the noon class, a different gym, we did 1 rep max deadlift. It's like luck of the draw. Like it's not. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Because it's better than doing like Cindy Murph or whatever.
Yeah.
But
did you? What did you and Deej hit on the dead?
it was crazy because that gym's really tiny. It's like corridor tiny, and then it's 7 minutes to find a 1 rep max. And Brett, DJ, and I, 3 people sharing a bar within 7 minutes. So it's like time crunch.
Oh yeah.
Deej hit 450 maybe. I don't know. I don't remember, but. Yeah. I hit 475, and then Brett hit 405.
Nice.
I think DJ probably hit 455.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, you guys weren't going that crazy.
We ran out of space because they had the giant bumpers, so they had a pair of 100-pound plates, the metal ones. Mm-hmm. They're actually bigger, so they're the pain in the ass to put on.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool to put.
That's fun, man.
And for us to hit that type of weight at the end of, that was our 6th gym, 7th stop.
Yeah. Still
pulled a pretty good amount of weight. That felt pretty good.
Damn. Yeah, plus sitting in the car. That was where'd you guys start off in? San Jose?
So DJ and I flew to San Francisco. And DJ Brett picked us up there. He was on his way back from his road trip, so we just kind of tagged along.
Where was Brett coming from?
Seattle.
Like work or?
No, just play.
Oh, okay.
He went home from San Diego to Seattle, so on his way down, he already hit like 11 gyms on the way up.
What?
Like 1 or 2 a day.
By himself?
Yeah. This was his road trip.
Oh my god.
We were lucky enough to have opportunity to meet him and tag along on the way back.
Wow. How broken is he right now?
I don't know yet. It's like it still hasn't set in.
Yeah. Give him a couple days off.
Still hasn't set in.
Damn, dude.
They were doing what saved them right after the plane ride and stuff. They did a lot of like the diaphragm slam.
Oh yeah.
You know, because their back was tight, this and that. I was trying to do a lot of carries, so
yeah,
it really helped, I think. And it's kind of proof in the pudding because like we've been training here for a long time, but we did all those crazy workouts and we came out of that unscathed, I guess. Nothing too broken.
Just muscle.
And the deadlift was probably a good test at the last box stop.
Yeah, that's the most room for injury right there.
And it's very rare that a gym will program a 1 rep max deadlift, right?
We talked about it's really rare.
And then so we were still pulling. I think Brett did the math. We were all like 2 to 3% off of our 1 rep max.
Yeah. What was everyone else in that gym looking like?
We had no time, to be honest. I even asked DJ and Brett. I was like, "Did you guys see the other people around us?"
Yeah,
it was so tight, and we were just so worried about like putting weights on. 7 minutes isn't a long time to find a max.
Fast. That is fast.
So I asked them were other people switch gripping or how did it look, and then both of them were like, we didn't see anything.
Yeah, makes sense. That would have been interesting to see.
But we felt good going for a max attempt under those circumstances and none of our backs are hurting or anything like that.
Yeah, that's good. I guess that can help tie us into the topic this week for lats.
Oh yeah,
and,
lats.
The lats saved you on your dead too, probably. I'm sure you know.
We talked about this probably a couple podcasts ago, but there was a big realization. I think probably halfway through this year, and we were realizing, like the lats, we were training them before the first 2.5 years of Strong Fit, FixFit, right? We just thought we just needed bigger, more active lats. In terms of it being applied to movement, like we did so many bent over rows in here.
Yep.
Many rope pulls. Well, rope pulls really more Terry's.
Lat pull down.
Lat pull downs for sure. Just a lot of band rows.
Mm-hmm.
Because we thought you just need bigger lats.
Right.
But then the realization this year was that I think maybe we saw something from Muscle Doc, but we realized that the lats are really there for you, like an isometric hold, like a flex.
Yeah.
In layman's term, is really just there as a support system for your spine.
Right.
So your lats are there, like the trunk of the tree, right? The padding, right?
It's huge for your trunk.
And all it is just avoiding that. It's helping that trunk to not bend forward.
Right.
Or backward, so flexion extension.
Right.
And you don't want your spine or the trunk to bend when you deadlift, when you strict press, when you handstand push up.
Yeah.
When you do anything.
I think that's what Muscle Doc started with, was like, if you look at the origin of the lat muscle, it's on your spine first. That's where it originates, and then it goes to your arm. So he's also, if you think about it, that's the only muscle connecting your arm to your spine.
Yeah.
Spine, period, let alone arm to lower back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's the number one thing we see with people with a dead or a squat injury, is like low back injury, right?
Yep.
So I think on our like low back pain episode, deadlifting episode, we did talk lat a lot. But what I was telling you is, like, when I actually go over, like, here's where it is, like on a chart, like it starts here, it goes to this arm, talk about action, function. People like don't know. They just know, like, hey, it's that wing thing here on the bottom of, we try to articulate, you try to articulate all the time in class too, right? Like down near the
rib cage
area.
Everyone thinks the lat is the teres major.
Right. And they work together too, but
they do. And even if you Google it, as simple as the function of a teres, right? They're like, well, it helps with flaring the lats out.
Yeah, I used to call teres lat junior.
Lat junior. Yeah. And in terms of like athletic, just movement in general, the teres actually does most of the work. Like when people do, like, get to the bottom of a push-up, when they do a pull-up at the top. And like, I don't have as much info like you're saying that people just don't know.
Right.
Like, I know like a little basic anatomy, right?
Right.
And basic kinesiology or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like when I see and study our sport, CrossFit, and I look at all these people that are just ripped and jacked, like Sam Briggs and all these other Camille
Frazier.
Brooke Ents, right?
Oh, you mean people that don't have it?
Well, just like CrossFit athletes that you can really see every like muscle fiber. Even the guys too, but the women, you see it way more. So these girls are doing, a ton of linked pull-ups and muscle-ups. So it's all these like so-called lat-driven exercises.
Right.
And but then when you actually look down towards the rib cage, like where you're talking about, where it kind of tapers in towards the spine.
Yeah.
Under those giant bowling balls underneath their armpits on the back,
giant
right?
Teres.
Those are teres.
Yeah.
But when you go down and you dissect and you actually look on them in terms of anatomy, they have no lats.
They have Christmas trees.
They have erectors.
The erectors all overdeveloped, yeah.
So then I start to realize that a lot of athletes, even like wrestlers too, and jiu-jitsu guys, pretty big teres.
Yeah.
In traps.
But I was going to say, we did point out Frazier on the opposite end. He's a CrossFitter, but his lats are massive.
Yeah,
But he's
he's a,
but he can pull
the top guy, so he'd be like an outlier. I
Right.
wouldn't say the average.
Right.
I'm studying just like the average CrossFitter. Even in our gym, we have really lean guys. Like we use Dave Marchand Robot as one of our members, but he's really lean.
His back boobs, we call him.
That's what he calls them, back boobs. They're super defined. They look like giant biceps,
Yeah.
They're like just ripped. And then Johnny Hoadley, there's a lot of guys with giant teres.
Right.
And those are the guys that can do a lot of pull-ups. So then when people feel anything sore over there, they're like, shit, my lats are blown up.
Right.
And when people talk about, even Olympic lifters, when they say like, hey, engage your lats, I really think they're using more teres than they think.
Yeah.
But obviously with the amount of training they do, the lat is just there to make sure that it doesn't collapse,
Yeah. And then I think, it wasn't too long ago when you were having a lot of FixFit movements of like, let's do a lat pull down. But we'd like let the arms kind of lax first. So then we can pull down, get tension into our teres, and then get the lat. Because you need the teres to lock and anchor that shoulder down before you can get a full lat contraction.
Yeah.
Right. So before, like you were saying, we were just rope pull, and then lat pull downs, and then supersetting that with other stuff. But it's like until you stop. I think Bob too is the one that was like doing that bodybuilder style where it was like letting the shoulder blade kind of roll forward, then anchoring it down before you get that lat to contract.
So try that on any of your so-called lat exercises or accessory drills, right?
Right.
So you do just a regular upright row. To engage a lat, like bodybuilding days, right? Mm-hmm. You fully let that lat lengthen to this end range,
right?
And you contract from there. It's easier to fire because the muscles lengthen. And then if you keep pulling back and your elbow goes past 90, so you're going deeper into that row,
right?
You'll feel the lat turn off, and guess what finishes all the movements or the rest of the movement in that range is your teres.
Yeah.
So it's just that usually people don't even have the awareness to get that lat to fire in the first place, so they just default using the teres the whole damn way.
Right.
So when they're pulling, it's like teres, 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 teres.
That's why it's so important to talk about looking at, especially for the lat. If we're talking like full body, full chain movement, you have to have like glutes on. You have to have like, we're not even talking like the anterior aspect of your body, like rib cage down.
Yeah,
let's say
abs.
All those abs, transverse abdominals, like firing. Because otherwise, if your body's just trying to, you can't isolate just your lat. You know, like that whole thing has to work, where your hips are hinging and your glutes are on, your abs are on, all of that before you can anchor your shoulder down and actually get a lat contraction. So it's a very complicated thing, but like you're saying, if you're telling an Olympic lifter just squeeze your lats before a clean, or at the top of a dead, squeeze your lats, who knows what they're squeezing, right? If the rest of the chain is off.
I think that is a big issue, is that once we identify the problem, it's very easy to throw a lot of fixes for it.
Yeah, find a cue.
And it's how the society is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you have high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Fuck, let's throw all the, cholesterol meds at you.
Right.
And not looking at the whole picture, Now you take it into the mechanics, it's like, shit, you have no lats. Like, yes, we're on the right path. And then it's now, like, what we get is, hey, stretch the lat before you use it. Do these lat stretches so you get a higher front rack. And then it's like, do all these bent over rows.
Or a boulder stretch too, you're saying too, like with a band?
Yeah, the boulder stretch, we see that all the time. We used to do it all the time as well, because that loosens up your shoulders so you get a higher front rack or whatever.
Because if you loosen the lat, you loosen everything it attaches to, right? Your shoulder, your low back,
and
your
then
hip. It feels all great.
It feels good because it's less restriction.
Right.
But we don't want it to feel good. You don't want it to turn off.
Right.
Now we're starting to see other people post about, like, hey, don't foam roll. You don't want muscles to turn off before you use them. So it's starting to transition. And I think the issue is that you just take that knowledge that's out there right now, and which is good, like we did. It's like lats don't work. Then you look up every lat exercise there is, the best way to activate it. So we're finding better ways to do rows and lat pull downs and pull-ups.
Yeah, what about, and then an overhead too?
Exactly, and the people don't even talk about a lat when they talk about pressing.
Yeah, they don't.
And then so like when you go and do those things like you say, and you just focus on do a ton of bent over rows, now you're not even trying to focus on how does the lat actually work with your obliques, with your abs, with your glutes, and that's going to be the trial and error that we have found. So hopefully this can skip you a few steps, right?
Seriously.
So it's like we realize that the pressing, like people say use your lats on the way down for a bench press. And that's a little bit more common, so I think people understand that. So when the bar comes down, you're trying to load and engage the lat.
But how many times does that dip into the lower back?
But at least they're thinking about it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're thinking about it. They're probably not doing it yet.
Yeah.
Including us. It took us a while to fine-tune it because we realized we're just overarching into our erectors or spine.
Right.
Trying to feel the lat.
Your feet are on your tippy toes. You're not driving off the ground.
Overarching.
Overarched. No glute engagement. So you can apply it, like you said, apply it to a bunch of different movements once you actually can identify what it feels like. Right? So if you're doing like a banded standing lat pull, and you're just like, okay, I'm squeezing that lat. I got my right side of fire. I got my left side. Okay, now whatever movement it is, it could be a push. It could be a push up,
burpee.
Like feel it on.
It's a horizontal push.
Yeah,
it's a horizontal push. And if you don't have that mindset to, once you have identified the issue or like what we should do, to train smarter, so we can keep working out for the next 20 years, or whatever. then it's not gonna do you any good.
Right.
So same thing, like, so the bench press, people have, because there's like a lot of those resources out there, a lot of powerlifters sharing that knowledge, but then all of a sudden you talk about like a strict press, an overhead press, a handstand push-up, a push press, a jerk, then no one talks about the lats.
Because
it's the same thing. You're just going from horizontal to vertical.
And in the because in the vertical range too for the lat, it doesn't shut off, but it's also not the primary function either, right? But it's stabilizing at that point.
So here, let me try to. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but the press. What I'm realizing is to, like the lats we were saying, you're standing up now, so you can even use the tree trunk analogy even better.
Yeah.
So now this is the base. You're standing tall. You're flexing your butt. Hopefully, your glutes are on.
Right.
And then your abs are tight. So now you're not bending. Your foundation, that column, isn't bending. So when you're pushing a heavy barbell or whatever, a strict press overhead, that force is pushed up against your column, your trunk.
Right.
So if you don't use your lats to resist against, you're trying to do a 135-pound press, 200-pound press, your lats are going to help support that, and your glutes and your abs. So if you don't have the lats firing in that range, it's like, again, you're not using that lat as a lat pull down. You're not using the lat as it's just there to hold everything together.
That's a perfect way to break down what stabilization means. Because you just, like, if I say that word, it's like one of those cues, right?
Yeah.
Like, lat could be a stabilizer and overhead position.
Stability issue.
Like,
what does that even mean?
Left side. It's like, what does that mean, right?
So then they have you do kettlebell upside down walks or some weird, like, thing to build shoulder stability. And it's like, great, you can do these weird little kettlebell upside down holds, but if there's no intent to figure out why it helps, what the injuries were caused in the first place, there's,
I think what helped me, and I want to run this idea past you, because I think it's working backwards, but working backwards sometimes helps paint the picture.
What do you mean working backwards?
If we did the anchor press for somebody right away,
okay,
I'll give you that example of that guy I was talking about that has an unstable shoulder, his right side. Okay, so he's upper trap dominant on his right side. He benches with a barbell and he gets a shoulder pinch in the front. Okay. So quickly, what do you think? Right pec's not firing, right?
Probably.
So
lap something, I don't know.
Yeah, right shoulders floating around.
Yep.
So the right pec comes and attaches to the front of the shoulder. So he's thinking like, well, I have strong pecs, like it can't be that, right? Because I don't know what's pinching in there. Maybe it's delt. But the lat comes in and attaches on the back of the shoulder. So I told him that they're not working together when they need to be, especially in a pressing motion. And that's, like you were saying, a bench is horizontal.
Yeah.
So I take him straight to that vertical one. And I was like, standing too, because if we sit, we're not engaging our glutes enough.
Yep.
So I was like, stand, take that dumbbell, 5-pound dumbbell. We could do this body weight if you want, and take it at like that 45-degree angle. I think for the most part, you can just kind of go wherever you want to feel comfortable to anchor down.
Yeah, find it,
because if some people are way out here at like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And if I do that, I just immediately feel like my rotator cuff turn on. So I kind of bring it forward a little. But yeah, I had him like row it down, that 5-second slow row, squeezing the lat. And he's like, okay, I'm good. Palpating pec. And I'm like, now squeeze the pec on the way up. Don't let that lat shut off. So you basically have your shoulder blade anchored down. And you're going up, and it's like you can just immediately feel that pec shut off.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom. Like, to me, that's... We jumped like 20 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm like kind of assuming like, oh, there's no injury here. It's just muscle imbalance. Let's go straight to the anchor press.
Yeah.
So that's where I say I feel like it's working backwards. But doing that, he's like, oh, I get it now. Versus if I was like, row first, and let's change the way you do a push-up first. Let's change the way you're thinking about your...
It doesn't
you know
have... Yeah, no, for sure.
He has to feel it first.
It doesn't have to be that complicated, and that's pretty much we're getting a better understanding on how it works.
Right.
So we can explain it simply, right? And if he's having pain when he presses, then we have to figure out what's shutting off when he's pressing. It's that simple. So if he can engage the lat, but while he's pressing, you're not pushing with the lat. That's what people don't understand. Just because you're using the lat in the press.
Right.
You're using the lat in the press. I'll say it again. But it doesn't mean you're using to contract like it's just a static flex.
That's where I think the confusing part is on a...
People are trying to like lat lat flex push. No, that's not what we mean. That's not the function.
That's what they hear though.
Or like when you fire your glutes in a press, we're not like your hip isn't actually closing angles. It's not changing.
Right.
You're using your glutes to lock in that joint that could bend, which is your hip.
Yep.
and then you're using your lats to lock in your trunk and your spine. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting to.
And you see the once you play around with it, you'll see the similarities, right? Like when people bench and your elbows flare out too early on the way up, that means pec probably shut off, your trap dominant, tricep or delt, and that's what causes all the pain. So now you turn it to vertical, it's the same thing. Like your buddy, he had the lats on, which is good right when he started to press. Shoulders probably flared, or shoulders rolled forward, trap took over, tricep took over, pec shut off.
Yeah.
Same type of thing. We're trying to do this anchor press where, like the bottom of a bench press, that elbow flare out doesn't happen until it needs to. Usually the barbell will go above the head, you know? And then instead of just giving general like position cues, like wait till the bar passes your head, you should feel your pec on until it needs to transition to the lockout position.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, not only are you identifying what's causing the pain or what's not firing, but if you could explain to them how it actually works and they understand that, then they're ready to practice it and apply it. And with, they're going to get there quicker.
Yeah.
Because they get it. People just say lats don't work on your deadlift. Good luck. And that's where you're going to go take a lot of steps backwards like we did. Then you're just like, fuck, I don't have a lat. I don't have a lat. Then you go and research all the lat exercises you can find. And your deadlift still sucks because your lat doesn't work in a deadlift.
Right.
Like that guy might have giant pecs, but again, it doesn't mean that pec is functional for that movement.
Of a barbell press, right?
Of a barbell
If
press.
he does a dumbbell press, he's fine.
And that's what happened to a lot of our guys and gals here. We did so much lat work within the gym. And I always call our gym a lab from day one because we have like so many different age ranges, demographic, athleticism, the whole deal. And then you'll see that like, we did so much lat. People are getting better at firing it. They feel it on the band. But it wasn't translating to the deadlift. And we're like, we have to question it.
That's what I'm saying. Like the point of an episode like this is like 3.5 years, almost 4 years of like testing this out, right? Like you across a lot of people on different lifts, because if we're talking to this guy who's doing a powerlifting hybrid bodybuilder diet or a workout, right? Yep. Where he's like, my compound lift is my bench, but I can't do it right now, so I'll just dumbbell. And then they always say, I feel weaker on one side, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but now you have to work on that unstable shoulder like one arm at a time with the dumbbell. Yeah. But still, where do we learn all that from? Like, who would have the most to worry about with this is like an Olympic lifter, right? Because they're going to do the pull on the clean and then the press on the jerk.
I would say everyone. And because the problem is that even like this Julian Pinot from StrongFit identified that like no CrossFitters have lats. Right. So it's like, oh my God, that's such a big development, right? It's like, oh my gosh, we don't have lats. This was causing all of our neck and shoulder pain. Mm-hmm. But the problem is like it just, once again, when you identify that the lat doesn't work, you can't just throw a bunch of lat exercises to it, Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought like the most complex lift would be a clean and jerk, because you're using the lat in like a clean, a front squat, and then a...
Well, I think where I was getting at is just like CrossFitters have maybe a higher chance of injury for shoulder and neck because they dabble in so many different things. Yeah. The Olympic lifters may get away with it a little easier because it's like once you don't have a lat or something, I don't know, they've been doing those two movements so many years that they have other muscles kind of supporting it, maybe. I don't know.
Or like I don't know. You and Deech said last episode, like you guys got rid of snatch pull because people were just doing it, or was that kind of like across the board?
Oh, well, I think what you're talking about is like the way that
high pull.
The snatch, like a muscle snatch versus.
I thought you guys were saying for like Olympic lifting programming, it was just like the snatch pull like this over and over. That they're not doing that as much anymore.
For our gym or just in general?
I think it's just in general.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just for the Olympic lifting in terms of CrossFit community as a whole, I think it spiked in terms of popularity. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that did CrossFit because that was the only different exercise program out there compared to the general Global Gym bodybuilding program. A lot of people kind of maybe changed focus and became Olympic weightlifters. Yeah. But I think that ship has sailed, and like the people that like to lift are just lifting. Right. And so I don't know if there's that much of an emphasis on being such a great Olympic lifter as a CrossFitter. It used to be. It was like very prestigious, right? Like, to keep building and spending a lot of extra time after class, before class, to work on Olympic lifting.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even see that anymore, especially our gym too. It's like people just still like to be functional and do the workouts, but they don't want to commit to like a 3 times a week accessory program.
Yeah.
Like for you, like you like to clean and you want to get better at snatch, but you know, you're just enjoying the CrossFit process versus like, hey man, I'm going to put you on this 12-week Olympic lifting cycle.
I like the variety. I like back squatting, front squatting on my own, deadlifting whenever too, benching. Like I like powerlifting, I guess.
And I think so for Olympic lifter, like you said, they might be the most susceptible. Like they need the lats, right? Mm-hmm. But again, it's the same common issue, the same theme. It's like they are using a lot more teres and upper pec or whatever in mid trap in the overhead position.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at those slow-mo lifters, of those Chinese lifters, because they're lean and whatever, their lats aren't massive, not all of them, you know, so they're getting away with it. So I don't know.
What about other sports, like the one I always do now is
golf.
If I see, golf for sure.
That's what I've been seeing recently,
because if that lat isn't developed on the torquing of your low back.
Exactly. That's what I've been seeing a lot of. I'm working with a couple golfers.
Just talk about your tree trunk thing. Imagine the tree trunk rotating left to right without any bend in it, right? Or any contortion. It needs to just move.
And what we see is a lot of the technical faults. Golfer I'm working with slowed it down. I did a side-by-side with Tiger and his swing, right? And you could see Tiger, when his backswing will stop, he's fully loaded.
Mm-hmm.
There's no over-rotation or overextension of his lower back.
Right.
So his swing isn't kind of kicked up or off.
Right.
Because he has something to stop it, absorb his back from over-rotating.
Yeah.
And if you don't have lats, you don't even know what lats are in terms of how it applies to a swing or your rotation. Then you see a lot of people, they kind of like on the backswing, they'll pick their chest up or over-rotate, and all that torsion or torque goes to their lower back.
But even someone like Tiger, all those back surgeries, right? So he had maybe overdeveloped muscles in his upper body, but that doesn't mean he was too strong.
Yeah.
You know, but he was like functionally not moving like as a whole. Also, hitting the golf ball like at a very high level for a long time doesn't help either. But still, like he was known for being the first person to actually like get in shape and hit the ball far for a long time because he worked out a lot.
Yeah.
So they were just like, oh, he grew too big for the sport, you know, and then for his own body and frame. But I was like,
well, what if that's true? Because like so my example is, I did do a lot of lat work as part of my deadlift regimen. So if you haven't, this is the first episode or whatever you listen to, I trained for a 500-pound deadlift, and through that process, it essentially did like a powerlifting / fixed fit approach. So I did so much lat work.
Right. And if you get big from it.
I got big, but then I realized it wasn't directly applicable to the deadlift, because after that deadlift my back was really tight and I kind of just felt really beat up. You know, I hit the deadlift, but like kind of at what cost? I didn't fully prepare properly. And now that I figured that out afterwards, that the lat is, I'm not training the lat the right way for the movements that I need, like a deadlift, activating it as like an isometric flex to protect the trunk. I've pulled 475 multiple times now, zero back pain, because I know how to use the lat in that way. And I'm not doing a ton of lat pull downs anymore, a ton of bent over rows. Doing a lot of the like hold 2 kettlebells, flex the lat, and hinge.
Hit the kettlebell hinge, and then farmer's walks too.
Farmer's walks with engaging the lat the right way.
Right, because that takes it away from your grip.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so people that say they have a grip issue, it's like all the weight's dumping into your forearm
and
elbow, your lat's not
bicep,
anchoring the shoulder down, coming from the trunk where all the power's at.
And so I even pulled 500 afterwards on a random Sunday for fun.
Yeah.
It came all the way above the knee faster with less stall as my 4th of July 500 pull. No back pain. Like the grip gave out, but it moved fast. So long story short, like, you know, if now that I'm applying the lat the right way for my movements, then it's more functional. My lats were probably bigger during my training cycle for the 500-pound pull. So like going back to Tiger Woods, he probably did get too big. So if they understood that stronger trunk, stronger lats,
get strong,
he might have done a ton of bent over rows, a lot of bird picker rows.
He was the poster boy for like the younger generation to go, oh, I should lift weights on top of this with golf.
Yeah, that was definitely the transition.
But then, oh, I shouldn't do it the way he did it.
Yeah,
I don't
because he
want to
had
be jacked.
20-something surgeries or whatever we looked.
Yeah, his knee, his low back. So they were like, oh, I'm going to do functional training is what they call it, you know.
And that's kind of the idea, is like you learn from experience, right?
Right.
He is a perfect person to learn from. He did it, you know, and he had a lot of injuries, but there was also benefits to it.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, is like share our experiences.
Yeah. I think an experience to share is the tennis player too. Anytime I see a tennis player with like low back tweak or neck tweak, same kind of thing a CrossFitter would present with, right?
Yep.
My hip hurts, my low back hurts, or a golfer. But tennis, I'm always like, let me look at one lat versus the other lat, because they only rotate to one side all the time.
Yeah.
And then I ask two-handed backhand or one hand all the time too, because on a two-handed backhand, they have, I believe, usually like less engagement, because if they do like a one-handed follow-through, like they twist even more.
Yeah.
Versus like a two-hand.
They stay as they're in their mobility range, right? Because you can't
overdevelop that side. So if it's a right-handed tennis player doing a two-handed backhand, so he's going right to left.
Yep.
That right lat is very strong.
Yeah.
And the left one is doing nothing because it's actually kind of arching down and going this way.
Goddess is probably lower back.
Plus the lat going on a forehand the
Yeah.
other way. So always look at their left lat, and we know someone without a left lat. Remember, compared to the right, like visibly.
And that's where we kind of, one of the mistakes that we made was that issue, is that once you start to assess people and then you identify that lat doesn't fire through whatever drill, a lat pull down, let's say, that's what we used to use. The problem is that yes, that lat doesn't fire in a lat pull down, but is that the way that lat is supposed to work for your sport or movement? Right. So we have a lot of people in here, including myself, that have a really fucking hard time turning on my left lat compared to the right. Right. And even DJ or whatever. But if we were like running our head into the wall trying to get that left lat to fire, any means necessary. But again, that's a wasted time in my opinion, because that's not how your lat works when you're doing an Olympic lift, when you're doing a handstand push-up, when you're doing a deadlift, you know? Yeah. So that was our mistake, and I think that's going to be...
But we got to see people that were like, this left lat is so underdeveloped because of your sport for 20 years. Yeah. Let's try to turn that one on too. And they're banging their head against the wall just like you are. So you're like, I didn't play tennis with a two-handed backhand for 20 years. Why am I having the same struggles as this guy? You know?
That was a big deal for when people ask in the big argument. It's like online, specifically about like the switch grip for deadlift. And I'm just sharing my experience. I deadlifted, let's say CrossFit deadlifted, and that was one of my favorite lifts. And I've done a couple powerlifting things too. And I've always switch grip. So I've had, let's say, 9.5 years of deadlifting, heavy and high rep. And so why I tell people not to switch grip, not because you could tear your bicep and this and that, but it's really the imbalance it creates. Mm-hmm. It's once the hand that turns under, right, which was my strong side for me, my right hand, all of that was going into my right side, right lat, pulling, right bicep. So then my imbalance for movement is so much harder to fix now, because I have X reps doing it that way. So that's why you shouldn't do a switch grip, because you're going to learn one day you're going to have to switch back and the damage is done, because I'd have to go back like 9.5 years.
I've always wondered that, like, do powerlifters in competitions, because I see, like, at least online, that they'll train a double overhand. They'll train even with straps double overhand, right? You obviously have to. And then they'll go to a switch grip for like a 1 rep max. And I was always like, is that kind of like how Deidre was talking about, you know, once I get to a certain number, I have to go to the belt kind of thing? It's like, once I get to a certain number on my dead, I have to go back to switch grip, because that's just like mentally, is that what it is? Because there's no torque component there when they lock it in. I think that's just a mental, like...
It helps a lot, because now you got counter pressure, right?
Is that really...
It does help a lot. But the issue is, that was the reason why I tested the 500-pound deadlift, no switch grip, no belt, right? Okay. Because I wanted to see if you can kind of train up to it and kind of let go of that excuse of it being like the best.
So the counter pressure thing is real.
It is, for me it was, but that also is real. I thought it was
like a crutch, like a security blanket.
It becomes a crutch though, right? So now I deadlift a heavier with double overhand. Yeah. And if I switch grip, I'd probably get a couple extra pounds, maybe. I don't know, or maybe I have to train it again. So
you probably have to train it, yeah.
Right?
Because you'd be like, I've been so double overhand.
Yeah, it'd probably throw me off because if I go double overhand, I'm not using my pec anymore on the right side.
I mean, you could, but you open up that
the shoulder
arm, yeah.
Yeah, so
it'd be tough to, and then like double overhand hook grip too, right? Versus like under.
You would have to double overhand hook grip, I think.
I'm saying like if you went switch, you'd be like, oh fuck, what do I do with this thumb on this? I would do left too. This would feel even weirder. Right a hand up. I've never done it.
Yeah, it's intent, right? People, I don't argue. I don't care what people do.
Right, yeah.
Like,
that's what it's like.
If you're doing it for comp,
the people I see doing it are lifting a lot of weight.
I'm not arguing against. You're lifting 700 pounds or whatever on a regular.
Dude.
That's fine.
I'm talking about my patients and clients that are trying to get like 300 pounds off the ground.
I'm trying to talk to people that want to keep deadlifting and not be afraid of it. And
that's my thing, man.
I would consider it as a master's to go for something so scary, right? Like, 35 years old now. Now I'm going to try for the heaviest deadlift I've ever done in my life.
I've said it.
Just having a baby and everything. It's like all the excuses I could, but it's just like if you can still deadlift, like hitting 475 like on the trip and a couple times afterwards, it feels amazing. Yeah. And I don't even I worked up to it, and it's like I don't have to sacrifice just relying on the belt, relying on my switch grip, you know?
Yeah.
I also want to do this for the rest of my life. Like I don't feel like I ever want to stop deadlifting. So you have to kind of adjust if your goals are like my goals right now, then I do recommend you stop switch gripping, because if you keep going if I keep switch grip deadlifting for the next 5-6 years, there's going to be a breaking point because it's imbalance. It's like your alignment, your setup isn't square anymore. So how much longer could I switch grip deadlift until something serious happens?
All right.
Right?
I want to I guess in the sports specific episodes we can get in like golf, we went into lat, deadlift, we went into lat. We brought up tennis, but like baseball or like one-arm sports, like what happens there, and how we know what happens with the lat obviously is because what we're talking about. You and I could break it down super quick. Be like, if a baseball pitcher's throwing and his pec and lat aren't in unison, then his shoulder's over rotating in the socket, and rotator cuff does all the work. So how would we even, I guess we'd have to have an individual episode of like a baseball pitcher needs to rehab this shoulder for next season. What kind of exercise are we to give that guy?
It's always looking at the missing link, right?
Right.
Like your check engine light goes on your car, it's, whatever. You're going to figure out what's the root cause. And that's exactly what we do with the people that come see us, right? But I don't even, if you take the concept of figure out what's wrong, what caused that shoulder to take over, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, what caused someone's got tennis or golf elbow. It's not just the elbow that you have to figure out or fix. It's really what's causing it. So in all sports and all movement, right, if you take the lat again, you don't have to necessarily, we can do it because it's going to be fun for us to
That's what I'm saying.
out.
I think it'd be fun to be like, we have this pitcher.
But until you're let's say you're a grappler, jiu-jitsu guy, or a golfer, or whatever, shot put, doesn't matter, but you don't have to wait for that episode. The concept still applies.
Sure.
Your trunk, right, is where you spin and generate force from. You hinge from the hip, right? But if your lats don't work, then your spine's going to overextend or overflex. So it's going to round a lot, or it's going to hyperextend. So you're losing power. So you're pushing or throwing or jumping off of a shifty foundation, like a bamboo stick, right? It was not like a solid column like a tree trunk. And then other little muscles in your body, whatever movement you're doing, is going to take over. And they're going to do too much work.
Or their elbow joint gets inflamed because, all the force transfers away from the body.
Yep.
It dumps into a tiny little
So
elbow
take throwing, right?
Yeah.
Or a golf swing. So if a golfer doesn't have lats, so they over-rotate, and all of a sudden their shoulder kicks up higher. Then they're more torque on the knee. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, now your knee hurts, and now your neck hurts, and your shoulder hurts.
That times 100 swings a day.
Exactly.
Shit.
So it's like
hundreds.
But then that's golfer, right?
Yeah.
If you have no lats and someone's shooting on you and you're a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestler and you can't, properly brace and you have to kind of round to sprawl.
Yeah.
then you're obviously going to have low back pain. We see the hip flexor pain. We see a lot of those in the grapplers and wrestlers.
Yeah.
And then the shoulders are more shrugged up because they're hunched over more.
Yeah.
Because their back is rounding. So it's like, it's the same type of thing. Whatever injury an athlete has, it's always going to stem, in my opinion, from the big muscles in your trunk.
Yeah.
Right?
That's huge. Pec is huge.
You could be a runner or whatever, and if there's an injury, I'm not going to look at your plantar fasciitis first.
Right.
I'm like, you're running and you're hunched over like this after 1 mile.
That's a great point. When we say, like, God, if you're a baseball pitcher and you want to get strong for next spring, hit us up. It's like, we're looking at it as a challenge, and and it's going to take individual assessment, right?
Yep.
But the concept of what we're talking about, like the foundation not being built, because it probably hasn't been built. If you come up to us and you're 17 years old and you've been playing baseball your whole life, you've been a pitcher 10 years as you're developing, you're going to definitely be imbalanced. Because we could take an elite pitcher and find the imbalance too, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like, my elbow hurts and I want to get stronger, we're going to like hope that all the exercises and the treatment we give you is going to take away your elbow pain. Not, hey, just come to us just for your elbow pain.
Yeah.
No. But we just like, if you did hit us up for that, I personally, I love baseball, so I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. This is a challenge. Let's try these exercises, get you stronger. Let's see how much, miles per hour you get on your fastball from this. So, I don't know, I think that's super fun stuff, but it's just all individual assessment. But the last thing that I was going to say for, like, the overall, like you were just saying, like, the bigger postural muscles, right? Like, if you just look at an anatomy chart, just Google anatomy chart and look at the size of the pec, the size of a lat, the size of a glute, the size of a hamstring, compared to tiny little rotator cuff muscles, tiny little erector muscles on your low back.
Oh, the big stabilizer band drills you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
For every little, you have less
Especially
stability.
a pitcher, they do band stuff still for the rotator cuff. I'm like, the rotator cuff should not be throwing the ball.
And there's so much shit about, like, train your glute med and train your...
Yeah.
Dude, look at your giant glute and a little piece of glute med, and you're telling me that's going to fix everything.
That's not going to win.
It's not going to win.
Size is going to win, should be the winner, right? Like,
the reason why it blows my mind. I don't know. There's still so many of those band drills and, whatever, all those programs.
Should I roll out my AT band? I still hear this twice a week, and I'm like, it's a band, it's a fascia, like, and then what, to loosen your glute med? You're not firing this giant glute max muscle. Look at the size of this damn thing.
Yeah.
And look at the size of it on you, and it's off, and it's not disengaged, and you're sitting on it all day. So
yeah,
it's like,
all your shoulder rotator cuff muscles, right?
Same.
It's like they're looking at all those little ones saying, oh, that one's not firing, or that one's overused.
This one's afraid I might need to get it cleaned up or scoped.
Those are tiny muscles. There's a reason why one's not working or one's overused where it's fraying. And that's all we're trying to say is, like, just ask that one extra question. Like, well, why is it happening? What does my glute med actually do when I run? Or what's not firing when I run to cause the pain? It's like, it's that simple to start.
Yeah.
And unless you have that genuine curiosity to want to get better and to want to fix the mechanics, you have to learn by applying it. There's no other way. If you don't stay there, go to the gym, and your pressing hurts like your buddy, and you grab a light dumbbell, grab a light barbell, and figure out how to engage your pec and lat on a press, there's no hope. I can't give you a program. You can't give someone a program.
Exactly.
We can, but you're just going to follow a program, and you're going to get really strong at pressing with your tricep and delt.
Yeah.
And maybe just your lat.
Thanks, I feel better.
You probably will feel better.
6 months from then.
Because you're taking one piece, like you take one medication to mask the cholesterol, right?
Right, exactly.
Or whatever, your blood pressure. But we're not fixing the core issue. The core issue is you're going to understand how to move the body in a chain, or you don't know which muscles aren't working when they should be working at what range of motion or what part of it. And again, you have to play around with it to understand it.
To stop symptom chasing. It's as simple as that. That's kind of the whole concept of the podcast. So I think it's a good start. I think if you want more info, you definitely just follow your page, Mark's on FixFit, because he is constantly posting banded drills and accessory movements that he does for this all the time.
FixFit Deej.
FixFit Deej is a good guy to follow.
DEJ, he's the main guy.
Because he's got overdeveloped erectors. Guest host last week. Wanted to thank him. even though he did a decent job, and everybody's been awaiting my return. Oh, dude, it's funny you said, or I was thinking too, I was like, man, Mark's living the CrossFit life of 7-8 workouts like that, and then gonna come home. I wanted to see like how you felt, like obviously muscle soreness and fatigue and whatever, but like not broken anywhere, right?
For lifting that much weight and doing as volume, right? 3 workouts a day.
Yeah.
And sitting in a car, sleeping in your own
probably
bed.
the worst thing for it. Yeah. I did golf 2 days in a row, jiu-jitsu after that, 1-2 workouts in a row, and then back to golf again. So golf 3 times in a week, which I've never done before, probably never will again, and a jiu-jitsu session. And I was telling some patients about it actually too. I was like, you have to go do that. You have to go sleep in a hotel room. Also, like, you don't travel much. When I go on the road too, I think the same thing all the time. I'm like, we have to go sit on flights. We have to go sit in the car for a long time. Because your clients and my patients come to us all the time with those problems, right?
Yeah.
And then we obviously are on the computer too sometimes, but we're not on it 10 hours. So you take that little microcosm of it and go like, oh, now I know how it feels. But I was like, that week, I've had fun. I played golf. I did jiu-jitsu. I love those things. But I was like, my body still is not like ready to pull any weight today, like super heavy, you know. So I was like, I kind of had to put myself through that, because I have patients all the time. They're just like, I golfed 3 rounds in a row with my buddies this weekend, and this is broken, fix it. And you're like, well, that's just not good for you, you know. I know it's fun, and it's like I had fun, but I was like at a cost, right? There's always the cost and effect. So I'm glad you got to go work out 8 days in a row, because imagine like Brett, 11 freaking gyms. Like, how do you think his body's feeling? You know now more than I would.
It's
to be able to help him.
They have to figure out, that's the learning process, the application. They have to figure out how much FixFit they have to do to buffer how much activity they want to continue.
Right.
If you wanted to golf 3 times a week, it's not do it or don't. Right.
Exactly.
How much FixFit do you have to do for your body to not hurt? And no one will know that, because some people can get away with doing a couple pistons and a couple lat and oblique drills before and after the round, during the round, at the 9, and they'll be fine. Yeah. Some people might need to do like 2 days of recovery with FixFit to buffer 3 rounds of golf. Yeah. Some people might need to do FixFit once every 2 weeks. But whatever. You
assess yourself, right?
Exactly, but there's no rhyme or like you can't. Everyone's different, because someone playing like 3 times a week, but they're an accountant and they're sitting there and it's tax season, it's different from someone that's playing 3 times a week but they're traveling on a plane, you know. Some people might be playing 3 times a week and they're retired, right, and they walk all the time. It's like you have to figure it out.
It's proof in the pudding to know. This is what I tell people when they come back from 2 weeks off and I go and they're like, I'm sore in places. It's like, well, duh, you didn't do your normal life for 2 weeks. You know, like you just I'm not feeling.
You have to expect it, right?
Yeah, it's like it's common sense. Something with it, and don't beat yourself up.
I have never worked out 3 days a week, 3 times a day. Sorry, 3 times a day. I've never done that.
Plus sitting in the car, plus hotel beds, like that all adds up.
I mean,
but you should be happy. Proof is in the pudding, where FixFit let you come back here without pain down your leg and sciatica or headaches. Yeah. So it's like you enjoyed your time, right? Yep. Like, and now it's back to the grind. So it's like same thing for me. I was like, yeah, 3 was a lot, and my body takes a beating on it, but I was like, I can't imagine doing that every week. And I know people that are, so I'm like, if you're not doing anything to supplement that,
that's the difference between following a program and applying it, right? Yes. You know? Because then a lot of people will go, oh my God, I don't know why my knee hurts all of a sudden. It's like, well,
now I got to put this fire out. Yeah. Put this fire out.
Well, think about it a little bit. Why is your knee hurting right now? Yeah. Oh shit, you're right. I've been driving like mad, you know. I drove 8 hours this time because I had to travel to San Fran or whatever, right? Yep. It's like, okay, cool, that's great. So that's what it is. Yep. Or it's like, hey, I've upped my training intensity, or I'm now going to hit the range and I'm going to play once a week. Yep. You know, it's like, cool. Now you have to figure out how to not just stop it all. Like, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, I'm never doing that. I just said it too. I was like, I'm never going to do 3 times a week. Oh, well,
it's a natural habit, right?
Exactly. It's like
it's innate. It's like you're scared of the pain, so you're like, well, I got to back up. Too much.
I'm like, I'm not going to do that again this week. Yeah, for sure. Or I'm not going to make it a habit either of like I'm going to just do that, because it's like that leaves me 4 other days of the week to fix all that.
But you also know that like you don't want to do 3 days a week of golf, no, because it would take so much extra work to survive that. Like if you had to play 3 days a week, every week, there's just gonna be so much extra accessory or auxiliary stuff you have to do.
That's like,
and you don't want to do that. It's just not worth the.
also the wife would be
Exactly.
I mean, that was like 12 hours gone out of in daylight. You know,
Yeah.
It's like it's not good. But also, I'm thinking, retired guys strive for this. It's like a goal. There's to get retired and golf every single day.
Yeah.
For the rest of their life, and it's like, dude,
You want
to do it.
You want to exercise every day, once you get older, because there's like less and less things that are like it's just fun to move. It's fun to lift. It's fun to run, surf, whatever you like to do, golf. But then it's just when things happen, that's where we're trying to come in and share some of our experiences from all the people that we in our communities. You know, it's like when something flares up, don't just drop everything. Just be a little bit
Everything
more.
I did didn't work.
Yeah, just be a little more cerebral about it and just go, well, okay, calm down. Tweak my knee, tweak my back, tweak my shoulder. It's not the end of the world. What happened? What could have happened? Now what do I do with it? That's it. It's like shouldn't that be the thought process for any problem in life that you...
Yeah.
Most people now, they take a problem because they don't have the knowledge, and and I get it. It's like if something happens in my car, check engine light comes out, I'm like, oh fuck, the world's over, oh gosh, it could be anything.
Gotta trade this thing in.
Yeah, I need a new engine.
The car's dead.
And that's exactly what's happening with the body. You're doomed. Yeah. It can only be the worst. You're preparing yourself for the worst. I must need surgery on my shoulder. It's like, maybe, but like at least try to start to practice so you have some understanding of what it could be, And
you're getting way more than just lats this episode. You're welcome, everyone.
Hey man, I just traveled.
You're welcome. You got Mark on a few hours of sleep. He just starts Yodaing on us, You know what we like? We like jiu-jitsu. We're about to go do that right now.
See, that's...
You ready?
I haven't even taken a day off. I worked out yesterday, and I worked out... Well, I came back from the trip, worked out. The last stop was here.
Yeah. And
then yesterday morning I worked out, even though I was sore. And then now I'm going to go do some FixFit and some jiu-jitsu.
See, I'm looking forward to the FixFit part, because the jiu-jitsu FixFit, like you were saying, at the end of the day, if you're not going to stay for jiu-jitsu after... You're doing bodyweight jiu-jitsu, basically, or bodyweight FixFit movements.
Yeah.
Those feel great.
All the stuff transfers, right? So whether you're a golfer and you need some more hip extension or whatever, and ab or oblique activation, you're still going to get it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that the most, to reset the body, and then we'll go break it with some arm bars.
One thing I did realize, because you brought up jiu-jitsu, is I brought out old like jiu-jitsu stretching DVDs and things like that, because I used to do those every day. From Ryan Hall way back in the day. Now he's a UFC fighter. Yeah. But getting into those positions, I thought I'd be tighter. Mm-hmm. But having more of that activation of all the stuff that we've done, like doing those like solo jiu-jitsu drills, I felt I could jump right back into as long as I warmed up those muscles. Yeah. And then Slava, when he checked me, Thai massage yoga guy, when he did his like assessment, when he's like, oh man, everything's pretty, like there's activation in the range of motion. Yeah. So he was shocked because you probably just like it looks stiff because I'm just, especially my legs and hips are. So it's a good sign that I don't have to sit there doing like a stretching DVD every night. It's because my hamstrings work, the muscles in my hips work, my obliques work. So I'm excited to see how it pans out, because I've been doing a lot of training, not jiu-jitsu related. Yeah. But when we're gonna like light roll or drill today, it's gonna be real interesting to see if I haven't rolled in like 2-3 months. Yeah. Or done jiu-jitsu and see if just see if like the mobility, which is a key topic, is there, because I've trained the muscles, even though it's not jiu-jitsu specific. Yeah. Like I don't have to keep throwing my leg up.
Light rolls, bro. We're breaking arms today.
Well,
Someone's getting choked out.
The funny thing is, you messaged me. What'd you say?
When for the
you said I'm gonna put you in a head.
Put you in a headlock, never let go, girl.
And I said, have you been banana splitted?
And I was like, my banana splits. Don't you worry.
So we'll see how late we go, but it'll be fun. I miss those days.
My buddy that's coming that is training for his black belt. We light roll all the time, and I told him like, dude, the other day I was like just brushing my beard around at work, and I was like,
Matt Burns.
I have a bruise on my forearm when I'm working.
I'm not. Fuck. That's the worst thing for me, is getting back into it, like Matt Burns and bruises.
My knees from just being bent.
It's usually like
pressing on the mat. Yeah, I'm like, my knees have bruises right now. Yep. Yeah, you have to get back in that shape and living in bruises and pain, and it's like
I'm ready to dive into that world again because it's getting colder and it's been hot as fuck. So I don't want to make it uncomfortable.
I don't want to. It's the same thing. It's like you'll if you golf 3 times, I wish I could golf every day. 3 times, I'm all, oh shit, dude, no, I'm gonna take a week off now. Is what I said.
Yeah.
After last Friday. Same thing, jiu-jitsu. You'll be like, I'm ready to get back in.
No, I'm not trying to go crazy.
2 times a week and go.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not
what
gonna.
am I doing?
I'm gonna try to
Why do people like this?
Like the deadlift protocol. I'm gonna try to make a jiu-jitsu one.
Why do people do this for fun? I never get it.
Yeah, that's what people say about anything. Lifting.
Yeah, they probably say
CrossFit,
the same for CrossFit.
Runners. Why do you run 10 miles, 5 miles all the time? So everyone just...
I just like choking people out. I told my wife, too, I was kind of stressed a couple weeks ago, and it was my first jiu-jitsu session back. And I was like, there's something... I'm worried about my psyche when I got my ass kicked, face pressed in the mat. That's the day I bruised my chin, and I was like, and I feel so de-stressed now and better.
The thing when we got back, because we've done a couple anxiety podcasts, when I got back into rolling again, there is something about being, when you're grappling or rolling, when someone else, you can't control what they're doing. That puts you in a fight or flight like no other. Because a workout,
we talked about that with
you can stop. You can stop running when it hurts. You can put the bar down. When you're exhausted, tired, and someone's trying to choke you out or kill you, you don't have control of that. So it really,
how was my brain wired that that's the most relieving thing?
There's
I was like, oh, I just got my arm broken and I feel so much better now.
Because you can still kind of fuck yourself up in a workout or a run. Yeah. But like, I could go for a run and start thinking about like, oh fuck, I got laundry or groceries. I shouldn't say laundry. Andrew will kill me. Like, I have to cook dinner. I have this work thing I got to do. But when someone's trying to kill you, there's no time to be like, oh, he's choking my neck. Oh, you know what? I got this thing. I got email right later. You know?
No, yeah, that's never happened.
It's like that's the only type of thing that I have found to get that full.
It's always
adrenaline dump that you need.
We had that in Bob's thing too. Someone cuts you off on the way home, especially after a jiu-jitsu sesh. You'll be like,
I don't care.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Someone just nearly took my head off, and that's not as bad getting cut off.
And I really think there is a way, like, you know how we completely integrated CrossFit into FixFit into CrossFit Sun.
Yeah.
Talked about that last week with Deej. There is a huge market and evolution of that, I think, with jiu-jitsu as a whole.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in diving into that in the upcoming year.
Yeah, we might need jiu-jitsu round 2 episode.
Yeah, just like, same thing. I want people that love the jiu-jitsu to do it forever, and there has to be a better evolution of training, coaching.
Well, let's try it today. Day 1.
Here we go. Day
1 group right now. We'll take a picture. You'll see us later.
Hey, hit us up if you guys got lat questions. I really think we figured out.
It's latissimus dorsi. Okay.
I don't give a shit. It's lats.
All right.
It's lats. It's the wings.
Flex it one more time for him.
I'm losing weight, so soon it's gonna be like skeleton mark.
You almost popped a vein.
I did. In my forehead.
We out.